So it looks like a new prosecutor has been added to the team of federal prosecutors investigating the crimes of Donald Trump. What should our takeaway be from this new staffing move? What, if anything, does this new data point tell us? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So we recently learned that a new federal prosecutor by the name of David Raskin has been added to the team of prosecutors investigating the classified documents crimes of Donald Trump. You know, the ones where he stole national security information, classified documents from the White House, and he unlawfully concealed them down at Mar-a-Lago. Well, here's the new reporting from the Washington Post. Headline: Top National Security Prosecutor Joins Trump Mar-a-Lago Investigation. And that article begins, one of the Justice Department's most experienced national security prosecutors has joined the team overseeing the intensifying investigation of classified documents at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home and private club. People familiar with the matter said. David Raskin, who served for many years as a senior federal prosecutor in New York City and more recently has worked as a prosecutor in Kansas City, Missouri, has been assisting the investigation into Trump and his aides. Raskin is considered one of the most accomplished terrorism prosecutors of his generation, having worked on the case of Zacarias Moussaoui, who was tried in Virginia as a co-conspirator in the 9/11 terrorist attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. So, what can we glean from this revelation, this new reporting? How should we read this data point about David Raskin being assigned to the team that's investigating Donald Trump? To try to answer that question, I'm going to draw on my own experience as a supervisor at the Department of Justice. Specifically, for about 10 years, I supervised federal prosecutors at the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. It's a big office, 330 or so federal prosecutors. And over the 10 years I was a supervisor, I had the honor of supervising, I'm sure, well over 100 federal prosecutors. And part of my daily responsibilities involved making staffing decisions, case assignment decisions. And when cases would come in, and we did a very high volume of cases at the DC U.S. Attorney's Office, I always looked to two things regarding who I would assign a particular case to. I looked for subject matter expertise, and I looked for relevant experience. And those are two somewhat different considerations. Let me start with subject matter expertise. I might have a case that needed to be assigned that involved a complex violent crime conspiracy with a smattering of obstructing justice and witness tampering and perjury. So I would look for a person or people who had some subject matter expertise that I knew could handle that kind of a case. Now, maybe a case was a DNA-driven case, and I would look for somebody who had some subject matter expertise in the arena of DNA evidence and who was comfortable dealing with DNA experts, scientists, chemists. Maybe a case involved an insanity defense, and that takes a particular experience, a particular expertise in dealing with forensic psychologists, forensic psychiatrists, forensic scientists that we have had testify in some of our insanity cases. Maybe a case involved child victims and child witnesses. And let's face it, there are some prosecutors who are more adept at dealing productively with child victims and witnesses than other prosecutors. So first you look to subject matter expertise. Then you look to relevant experience. What do I mean by that? Some prosecutors, some federal prosecutors, are especially good at running long-term grand jury investigations. They are detail-oriented and they can exhaustively investigate cases in the grand jury. Now, those federal prosecutors might not necessarily be what I would call trial animals, the kind of people who just want to, plant their feet in the well of the courtroom and argue to 12 jurors. Now, there are some people who have experience and are particularly good both in the grand jury setting and in trial, but not everybody. So you would look for subject matter expertise and relevant experience when you were making case assignments. So what can we glean from the addition of David Raskin, one of our preeminent national security and terrorism prosecutors, a man who tried, not just investigated, but tried the only terrorism case arising out of 9/11 brought by the Department of Justice, tried it successfully, tried it to a conviction. What can we glean from him being added to the team of federal prosecutors investigating Donald Trump? In my opinion and experience, David Raskin is not the kind of person you're adding to the investigative team if you're moving away from indicting Donald Trump. Now, let me hasten to add, I don't know David Raskin personally. He was more of a New York-centric Fed, and I was always a D.C.-centric Fed in the nearly quarter of a century that I worked with the Department of Justice. But I am familiar with his work. And here's what I'll say. If I knew that we were headed toward indicting and trying Donald Trump for his crimes, then David Raskin is precisely who I would add to the trial team. Now, does that data point guarantee that Donald Trump will be indicted for his crimes? No. But it is a data point that moves us one step closer to Donald Trump being indicted. And I think we will take every data point we can find that moves us one step closer to seeing Donald Trump indicted and tried for his crimes. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.